Welcome back to iAskTech. In this comprehensive tutorial, we will embark on an exciting journey to create a conversational chatbot using Langchain and Open AI. Whether you are new to programming or just starting with chatbots, this guide will walk you through each step, explaining every detail along the way. By the end of this tutorial, you will have a solid understanding of how to build and interact with a chatbot powered by OpenAI's language models. So let's get started. Before we begin, make sure you have Python installed on your machine, an OpenAI API key, and a Tavily API key. So let's start from the step 1, setting up the environment to get started. I already have created my account on tavily.com and I have got my API key, so it is free. You can also come here and create an account. It has free plan that will give you 1000 requests per month, so you can use it. Other than that, I also have my OpenAI account. So here we will create a new API key. So OpenAI recently updated their dashboard in the platform. So now they have projects. You can have multiple projects. It's kind of workspace. So you can organize your different projects with their own keys in it. So right now I have only two projects, default and experiment. So I'm in the experiments right now. So you can edit it if you want to. You can edit the name, but right now we just need to get the API key. So just click on the API key and here click on the create new API key. From here you can select the project, that in which project you want to create this API key. Okay, so here you can give it whatever name you preferred. You prefer, you can give it any permission whatever you think is suitable. For now, to just keep it simple, I will give it all of the permissions, but you have to give it very carefully. Okay, my API key has been created. I will copy it shortly. To get started, open the terminal or command prompt, and first of all we will have to create our Python environment. So you can install the dependencies without having any separate environment, but it's recommended to have a separate Python environment. So for that I will use pip env shell press enter. So this will create a subshell for you, a virtual environment, and it will activate it. So once it is activated, you may see some change in the terminal. Like I can see this shell name on the right side. You can see somewhere else as well, but once you run this command and if there is no error, that's mean the subshell or virtual environment has been activated. So let's run this command to install all of the dependencies. I need to install Langchain -OpenAI and Tavily -Python. Press enter. So this command installed the necessary libraries. For example, Langchain -API. This is a package that provides an interface to interact with OpenAI's language models. Then we have Tavily -Python. This is a package that allows searching the web using the Tavily API. In the next step, we will be creating a Python file. So let's create that Python file and name it chatbot.py. Okay, and here I will import the required dependencies. First we need to import the OS. So let's break down each import. So on the top we have the OS. This module provides a way to interact with the operating system, including loading environment variables. And then we are importing the Tavily search result. This class allows searching the web using the Tavily API. Then we have the chat OpenAI. This class from the Langchain OpenAI module represents the OpenAI chat model that will power our chatbots. Then we have the chat prompt template and messages placeholder. These classes are used to define the prompt template for our chatbot. Then we have the agent executor and create OpenAI tools agent. These functions are used to create and execute the agent. Then we have the human message. So this class represents a message sent by a user. Alright, now let's move forward. Let's set up API keys to use the OpenAI and Tavily APIs. So you need to provide your API keys. For that, create a file named .env in the same directory as your chatbot.py file and add these line. Now replace the your OpenAI API key and your Tavily API key with your actual API keys. So let me get it. So this is my API key for the OpenAI, and let's copy this key as well and paste it here. Now in your chatbot.py file, load the environment variables. But before that, we have to install another dependency, that is pip install python-env. Press enter. Okay, so if it is already installed, then it will tell you already installed. If it is you are installing first time, then you will see the success message that it was installed. Okay, just clear everything. Okay, now let's load the environment variables. So I just called the load underscore .env function that is coming from .env package. The load.env function from the .env module loads the environment variables from the .env file, making them accessible in your code. Next, let's create the agent in this step. So we create the agent that will power up our chatbot. So let's write it line by line. First, we will create a variable tools, and that will contain list of an array of all of the tools that we need. So we need Tavily search results, and it is going to have a variable or parameter max results 1. You can change it according to your needs. And let me quickly explain here. The tools variable, this is basically a list that contains the tools our chatbot will have access to. In this case, we are adding the Tavily search result tool, which allows the chatbot to search the web using the Tavily API. This Tavily search result is the class that is imported above. You can see here. It represents the tool for performing web searches using the Tavily API. And then we are passing this parameter. This parameter basically specifies the maximum number of search results to retrieve from the Tavily API. By setting it to 1, we are limiting the search to only the most relevant result. Next, let's create the chat variable, and within that I will call the chat OpenAI function, and I will pass the model is equal to, we will pass the model name GPT-3.5-turbo-1106, and then we will specify the temperature. I'm going to set it to 1. So let's break down this line as well. So this chat variable represents an instance of the chat OpenAI class, which is used to interact with the OpenAI's chat model. And then we have the model. We are specifying the name of the OpenAI chat model to use. In this case, we are using the GPT 3.5 Turbo 1106 model, which is powerful language model trained by OpenAI. Then we are passing the temperature. The temperature parameter controls the randomness of the model's responses. By setting it to 0, we are making the model's responses more deterministic and focused, reducing the likelihood of random or unexpected outputs. Let's move to the next step to define the prompt template. So to define the prompt template, let's analyze. So let's create a variable prompt is equal to, we will call the function chat prompt template, call it, and here we will pass an array, and that array will have 3 items. Like first in this parenthesis I will have system, then you are a helpful assistant, you may not need to use tools for every query, the user may just want to chat. Okay. Now after that, I will add messages placeholder, and here I will add variable name messages. Then I will have messages placeholder, and variable name is going to be agent scratchpad. Okay. Now let's understand what we are doing here. So this prompt variable represents the prompt template used by the chatbot. It defines the structure and content of the prompts that will be sent to the language model. One thing that I missed here, we should have used from messages. Okay. So we are calling the from messages function. So this method is used to create a prompt template from a list of messages. It takes a list of tuples or message placeholder objects as input. So here, this tuple represents a system message that provides instructions or context to the chatbot. In this case, we are specifying that the chatbot should act as helpful assistant and may not always need to use tools. Next, here in this line, this messages placeholder object represents the placeholder for the chat history. The variable name parameter specifies the name of the variable that will hold the actual chat history during execution. After that, we have this line. So here, this messages placeholder object represents the placeholder for the agent's scratchpad. The scratchpad is a space where the agent can store the immediate results or thoughts during the conversation. The variable name parameter specifies the name of the variable that will hold the scratchpad content. Let's move to the next step to assemble the agent. So let's assemble the agent using the chat model, tools, and prompt template. So first of all, I will create this variable agent is equal to create OpenAI tools agent and pass the chat property or chat variable, tools, and prompt. Okay. Now let's talk about this line. Here, this variable represents the assembled agent that combines the chat model, tools, and prompt template. The create OpenAI tools agent function is used to create an OpenAI agent with tools. It takes the chat model, tools, and prompt template as arguments and returns an assembled agent. Next, I will create the agent executor, and within that I will pass some parameters. Agent is equal to agent, tools is equal to tools, and then purpose is equal to true. Okay. So this variable basically represents an instance of agent executor class which is used to execute the assembled agent. Then we are passing the agent to it as the parameter. So we pass the assembled agent to the agent executor constructor to specify the agent to be executed. Then we are passing this tools. We pass the list of tools to the agent executor constructor to provide the agent with access to these tools during execution. There can be more than one tool, but in our case we have only one tool. Then here in the third parameter, we are setting the verbose to true. We enable verbose output, which means that agent will display its thought process and intermediate steps during execution. Let's move to the next step. We will be interacting with the chatbot in this step. So we interact with the chatbot by sending the user messages and retrieving the chatbot's responses. So let's define a variable result is equal to agent executor dot execute, agent executor dot invoke, and call that function. I will pass an object, and in that object first property is messages, and the value would be an array, and for now I will have only one item in that array, human message, and I will pass the content. I am Nemo or whatever. Next, let's talk about this line of code. So this method is this invoke method is used to send a user message to chatbot and retrieve its response. Let me print it as well. So it takes a dictionary as an input where the messages key contains a list of user messages. Here, human message, we create a human message object with the content I am Nemo to represent the user's message. The content parameter holds the actual text of the user's message, and this variable result stores the chatbot's response, which is returned by the invoke method, and at the end we are printing the chatbot's response to the console. By the way, this property has to be exactly same as we defined here. So if you make a change here, if you set a different variable name, then you have to use the same name here as well. So I will just demonstrate that as well. Now let's test it. Open the terminal and run the command python main dot python chatbot.py. Okay, you can see it has responded us that, "Hi Nemo, it's great to meet you. How can I assist you today?" And these are the logs that are coming because of the verbose true that we added here. Like, we have the messages, human message, I'm Nemo, output is hi Nemo, and then it extracted the output, final output, and displayed us here. Okay. Now if you remove the verbose or you set it to the false, then you will see the less information. Okay, this time you did not see that green text message but the JSON. Okay, let's set it back to true. All right, and now let's experiment with the variable name. This time I will use XYZ here, and this time it should not work correctly. Okay, you can see that we got an error because the name was different. But if I use the exactly same name XYZ here as well, then it will definitely work. Okay, you can see that this time it is working fine. Let me undo it. Let's move to the next last step. So in this step, we interact with the chatbot by sending user messages and retrieving the chatbot's responses. Okay, let's try another example where right now it did not use the tool yet because this was a simple chat message, but now I will ask such a question that will need a tool, so it will have to search by using this API. So for that, I will, instead of passing this message, I will replace it with a different question. What is current conservation status of the Great Barrier Reef? Okay, now let's run the code again, and this time you will notice that it will run the tool that we created earlier. It is using that tool, it is sending the query, and then we got the response. So you can see this is the response. So it has shared all of its thought because of the verbose true. If you set it to false, then you will not see all of these logs, you will just get the final response. Okay, you can also print the output instead of showing the JSON. Okay, with this is how you will print the output. Let's check the current weather. What is current weather of New York? So let's see, what does it give us? Okay, it is saying that the current weather in the New York is clear with the temperature of this, and the wind is blowing at this speed. Okay, so you can see that it is working perfectly fine. So this example was with just one tool. You can have a lot of more tools if you want to have. Okay, so that's it. Congratulations on completing this comprehensive tutorial on building a conversational chatbot with Langchain and Open AI. You have learned how to set up the environment, create the agent, define the prompt template, and interact with the chatbot. Throughout this tutorial, we have explored the intricacies of each step, explaining the purpose and functionality of each variable, function, and class used in the process. You now have the solid understanding of how to leverage OpenAI's language models and various tools to create an engaging and informative chatbot. Remember to replace the placeholder API keys with your actual API, OpenAI API, and Tavily API keys in the .env file to ensure the chatbot functions correctly. The world of conversational AI is vast and exciting, and This tutorial serves a strong foundation for your journey. Feel free to experiment and customize and expand upon this chatbot implementation to suit your specific needs and interests. Further in the future, I will try to record a second part of this video where we will try to implement some kind of UI. So instead of you update code and see the result in the terminal, you will be able to just open the UI and provide your input and see the output right in your UI in the browser. You can explore additional features, integrate more tools, and fine-tune the chatbot's responses to create an even more impressive and versatile conversational agent. If you have any further questions or need additional guidance, don't hesitate to reach out to the community or consult the official documentation of the Langchain and OpenAI. The possibilities are endless and your creativity is the limit. Happy chatbot building, and may your conversations be engaging, informative, and delightful. Go forth and create amazing chatbots that will revolutionize the way we interact with the AI. The future of conversational AI is in your hands. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Goodbye.